don't want it to. Okay, don't forget to type. Pin it. Okay. Yes. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's not playing. Oh, right. Hey, we're back. No space. Good afternoon, people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are starting the next session with one of the greatest of our time. Just to show you how much of an astute professional he is, he's already logged on. And we are not going to waste his time any further. We will start, and I'm sure that we will build up from there. So I'd like to welcome you once again to Out of the Box series from the stable of Talks with Titi. One of the things that we have focused on with this platform is to create as much capacity building for the young ones and the youth. And so it gives an opportunity for us to share, for us to interrogate issues, imminent and prevailing issues in this side of town. And the way we can do it is by providing mentors, those who have been able to carve a niche and established themselves in their area of work. Incidentally, we have somebody who has transited through different strata of the entertainment industry. He's regarded as the grandmaster of stand-up comedy, and he was voted 2019 Man of the Year. And you are yet to see why he was, because there's a lot to learn from this session today. I'm going to introduce, and I'm going to be bringing on Mr. Atoyota, hallelujah, Akobomere, all known as Alibaba. So give me a minute, let me just bring him on. Okay, he's coming on any moment. Hey, good afternoon, Alibaba.
Good afternoon, madam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Well done,
Thank you so much for making the time with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is my first time of doing this, and I noticed that every time the influencers come, the numbers just shoot up. It's amazing. The numbers just shoot up, and you're wondering, where were they all along? You know. You're welcome, sir. It's such an honor and absolute pleasure to have you come and share this session with us. A lot of people are already waiting. I have people who have sent messages to say Alibaba session is the one I want to listen to, because they know that they will pour out. So we're going to dive right into it so that we don't take too much of your time. And one of the things that I've always wanted to ask is for you to share with us your journey in this industry. You have been in it, you've transited through decades, and you're still standing strong and still relevant. Not only have you done that, you have impacted so many people. So I want to start by saying, because you were in the entertainment industry, you started off in publication, you went through various areas of scope, and you have been able to hone something. Can you take us through that journey, and then, you know, what you're sitting on right now?
All right. I have truly been on a journey. I've truly been on a journey, and I have all the scratches and scars and marks to show for it. I started out as someone who wanted to be just a writer. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a newscaster. And my dad thought I could be all of that, but he thought that the best way was to become a lawyer. And he had this argument, and he said, when you are a lawyer, you can still be anything that you want to be. I had a different idea, and we fell apart when I did not go through with law. But I had to then so it now became the driving force behind everything that I did. I was on a course to prove to him that I was right. I was on a course to make him know that I didn't need to be a lawyer to be anything else, you know. So that probably was what drove me into all the sectors that I found myself. I've been an artist. I had worked as a set designer. I've worked as a photographer. I've worked as a personal assistant to someone who owned a concert company called the DP Lekki Sunsplash at the time.
Okay.
I worked as an executive assistant with him. I had been a cartoonist. I've worked on script writing. I've worked on television content creation. When I was working with Danladi Bako, Peter Igo, and the rest of them at NTA. My set designer stint was with a man called Mr. Johnson, who was at NTA at the time as well, because I could draw and I could visualize any set at all, you know. But I've been through quite a lot. I've also been a radio presenter, television presenter. I have created programs, several programs for television stations, radio stations. I've written copies for advertising. I have not tried my hands on directorial sector, the director's area yet, but I think I'll get to it. I have been a columnist for newspaper, done cartoons, and here we are. I'm a master of ceremony, political strategist, and I am an art connoisseur. I sell artworks as well, and so we're here. So I kind of like I've been in every sector, a lot of sectors, not every sector. But as you know, the creative industry is very large, and I've done my bit. Yes.
You have done quite a bit without having to plug the issue any further. Can I ask, what was the most challenging of all of the areas that you delved into?
It was comedy, because there were no precedents. There were no precedents to follow. So there was need to create the awareness let them know the essence and value of the art, and get them to appreciate the act itself. Because there's the art, which is me, there's the art, which is the comedy. So there was need for them to balance the two and accept both of them, and the services that I rendered. And there was need to also plug in the services that I had into different sectors, because comedy was there, but it wasn't stand-up comedy. So you had comedy on television, you had comedy on stage, you had the Babasala, you had Jaguar, you had Samanja, you had Papi Luwe, you had Awada, Keri Keri, you had the Ojuladipo Theatre, you had all of those. All right, so you now come in and say, okay, you want to push stand-up comedy as a standalone, and a lot of them are looking at you like, Joe. In fact, there was somebody who told me then that if the Baba Salas and the Benga Deboyes did not break into corporate Nigeria, how do you want to do it? This was at Abegi in 1989, and said, how do you want to do it? And I said, well,
Abegi is at National Theatre, right?
National Theatre, yes. National Theatre was where we used to anchor, because then there was a triangle. Every artist had a triangle, and this was it. You go to National Theatre, and then from there you go to NTA, and then from NTA you go home. So that was the triangle. Or you go to a place where you had a production, come to National Theatre, and go home. That was the triangle that nearly everybody had, because NTA was the only platform that was available for anybody to express the talent that they had. And as the only platform that had the network and had the platform, we all gravitated towards it. And so when you had any, if it's that you're a presenter, if you're a commentator, you're a sport analyst or anything, everyone went there. From Shegon Debami to Siristoba to Livia Jonoma, everybody went to NTA. And so if you had a script and you go to the sponsors and say, oh, Pfizer, I have a script. How do I pursue this? Pfizer or PZ or anybody will begin to look at NTA to put that across the. So that was the platform that everybody gravitated towards, and gradually we then had the independent television of AIT coming. Then we had Clapperboard. Then we had DBN. And as soon as those ones came, things began to take shape a bit, because people could then become presenters on DBN, newscasters on DBN. People moved into Clapperboard. That was where Olisa Dibwa honed his skill initially. And so people now started, then there was a Jibola, a lot of all these people, they started branching into all those sectors. Israel, Nigerian. There's the lady that's with Channels now. She also was with, she's in Channels in South Africa, but she started from DBN. So you see that as soon as platforms came, a lot of people gravitated towards all those platforms and spread away from NTA. And so the opportunities increased. And that was exactly what happened, yes.
Okay. So I hear a lot of things that you haven't said in what you're saying. I hear, yes, I hear a lot of people who have stemmed out from the background, from that time, and they have honed their own. They have stood their ground. I also hear leadership. I hear leadership in the area of the location where it all started, where the source is, where we can term as the source of all of the brains and all of the talents and all of the potentials in this entertainment industry, because clearly a lot of people that you have mentioned have geared into various aspects of entertainment. Okay, I also hear that because you have touched in various areas, the place that you decided to sit upon, you described as the most challenging. Okay,
yes.
Now I'm going to ask you, as a leader in this sector, that why do you think that the entertainment industry, and I don't want to sound like it's down, but I'm saying, why do we still have it's still seeing growth? Why do we not have somewhere like that National Theatre effectively being utilized up till now?
Okay, let me start from before you say that, you need to understand the background upon which National Theatre came. National Theatre did not come up because we had a great art awareness. It did not come up because we had great artists. It did not come up because we had so much creativity and government was looking for where to harness and galvanize everyone. National Theatre came about because the pride of the military regime was hot. The military regime were criticized because there was a coup that was planned and the international Commonwealth ostracized them. And the military government felt, oh, you ostracized us, don't worry. We're going to build Africa. We're going to call everybody to Africa. And so the first thing they said was that let's organize a festival of art for all blacks so that those people who ostracize us from international committee will realize that we can pull our weight in Nigeria. And so they said, okay, what do you do? They said that to pull Africa together, let's use arts and culture. And that was why National Arts Theatre was built. It was not built because they were responding to the creativity in Africa. No. It was built because the military people wanted to prove to the world that
make a point.
You cannot ostracize us. So we're going to build the National Theatre. We'll invite everybody across the world who is black to come for the Festival of Arts and Culture, which is Festac 77. And so they started building from 1975. Okay, so from 1975 to 1977, when the place opened, they looked for a swamp, which was at Igomu. And they said, okay, that swamp, fill it and build the National Theatre. So take the one that they have in Belgium, just replicate it and make it bigger. So they built it and then invited everybody across the world. And when they invited everybody across the world, everyone that wanted to come, especially the Africans, said, we do not have money to come to Nigeria. And Nigerian government said, don't worry about money. We will build a place for you to stay. We will feed you. We'll provide everything you need. Just come. Because the military government just wanted to prove a point. So the National Theatre you see was just to prove a point, so score cheap points. It was not because there was a consciousness towards art. It was not because there was need to develop art. It was because they just wanted, the military people just wanted to flex some muscles. And especially the fact that we already had money, because from the time that oil was found, the military people just said, we have too much money. In fact, our money has more value than their money. So let's build everything that wanted to be. So they built that. Now, when the people came and they finished the Festival of Art, the Nigerian government told the people that were leaving from Ivory Coast, from, just name them, all the place, Congo and everywhere, said you can leave with everything you came with. And the national carrier, Nigerian Airways, was flying everybody to every place free. So most of the people that came to Nigeria benefited because as they were leaving, the ones that carried ceiling fan, that carried fridge, bedside fridge, mattresses, all of them, they just moved them, got electric cookers and everything, electric iron and everything that was supplied in Festac. Don't forget that in Festac, before they built Festac, they used the satellite town as the place that the construction workers who were building Festac were living. The plan was, as soon as you finish building Festac, you would then come and build satellite town. But as soon as the festival was done, federal government was done with National Theatre. Their point had been made. We can pull everybody together and do everything that we wanted to do. And from then on, it was just lip service to arts and culture. Lip service to arts and culture.
So that means that when that activity, when they called in and made that historical arrangements and the event was done, was there revenue? Did they generate revenue?
We were spending money. It wasn't about generating revenue. People were coming to just have fun because they just wanted to prove a point. And after the point was proven, there was no need to continue the culture. There was no need to continue to push the awareness or anything because the point was already made.
Clearly, I think that's where the disconnect started from.
There was no reason, there was no disconnect. It wasn't intentional. There was not.
No, I mean that the disconnect was that we did not see the opportunity that laid in there at that time. And so even now, yeah.
No, the government did not even want you to see any opportunity. What they wanted was, it's like when some people want a girl and they finally get the girl and move on. And the girl now starts saying, you know, you've not come to visit me. It's been a while since you bought me something. What the person wanted was a one-night stand. The person had gotten the one-night stand and moved on. You are talking of let's see much more. Let's see how we can build a relationship. The purpose of that relationship was a one-night stand. So Festac was a one-night stand. And as soon as Festac was done, the federal government was done with it. They had built the PR that they wanted. They have proven themselves as the giant of Africa. They could host everybody in Africa, plus people from West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago, and all of them who came to Nigeria. And the purpose was done. And after that connect, that was it. So what then happened was that a lot of people who misread the intention of federal government, the military government at the time, thought, it's a reawakening. We are now recognized. Art was now there. Then some of them now took it upon themselves to become writers and activists who were now feeling like because they recognized us, military started locking all of them up.
Okay, so that is a fantastic insight, and it really puts things into perspective for us. One of the things that I wanted to congratulate you on is your appointment on the board of the tourism. Can you give us a little bit more insight about that? I know that you're on the one with the federal one. Are you also totally involved with the state one, with the Lagos state one?
Yes, I am. I'm involved in the state one, but I'm the chairman of the federal one, the federal committee. The purpose and mandates that we got from the federal, on the federal side, is that government wanted to know how the impact of COVID-19 was on all members of the creative sector, the creative industry, as it were. In pursuing that, government also did not want it to be hijacked by some sectors that thought that they were the only people who were entitled to anything that comes from the sector. And saying that meant that, because when you speak to a lot of the leaders in some major sectors in the creative industry, you hear something like the creative sector is music, movies, and broadcasting. And that is not true. There's advertising, there's marketing, there's architecture, there's crafts, there is design, that's product design or graphic design, fashion design, there's film, TV, radio, and photography. There's IT software and computer services. There's publishing. There's museums, there's galleries, there are libraries, and of course, music, performing arts, and visual arts. All of these are part of the creative industry. Wow. But you see, nearly every time when something happens, the big wigs in the creative sector, because of the connection and the network that they have, quickly go to the ministers and say, this is what we're feeling, settle us, we have a problem, settle us, because they own platforms.
Yes.
All right? So, because they own platforms, they go to the ministry and the ministry responds to them. And so, then you now have the Nollywood people, maybe Actors Guild or DGNs or so,
Yes.
who then go to the administration as well and says there's need for so and so to happen. We're not getting so and so, and then government then accedes to their request. Then you then have PMAN who then go to them and say this is what is happening. We think this should be done and this should be done, and then they also accede to their request. What then happens is every other sector that had not been bold enough or have enough power or goodwill, or maybe people who are major players in the sector do not have the balls to even go to the minister to say this is what we are going through. And because they don't have that balls, they don't have those balls to go to the minister, it then reduces them to minority and they don't have anybody to speak for them. And so the minister said, instead of us to continue to deal with this issue piecemeal, so we deal with writers today, we deal with tourism organizers tomorrow, we deal with this, let me set up a committee that looks at the holistic impact of this thing on the industry. And so he set up this committee. And he'd been banding around with the committee. It was not until the day that he was going to have a meeting with the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, that he then sent a message to me and said, Ali Baba, I'm making you the chairman of this committee. I said, what committee? And he said, committee on COVID. I said, how? He said that he wants to find out the impact of COVID on the whole structure and the whole system, and he needs me to be the. And I was like, but sir, I'm not the head of any association. He said, no, that's the problem. That what he wants is for us to get to the bottom of it. So find out from the individuals how it has affected them. Find out from the organizations that employ those individuals how it has affected them as well. Then ask the sector leaders how it has affected their members. Synchronize everything and present to me and say, this is our report on how it has affected the members. This is our report on how it has affected the organizations that employ those members of the creative sector. And this is how the sector leaders see it on behalf of their members. And so, because of that, he doesn't want anybody who he's putting on this organization, in this committee, to think that they're representing any sector. So it's non-sectoral. So when you come to that committee, you are going to represent everybody. Because too, it is impossible to have every committee, every industry represented. And so he just picked people and said, you have the spread experience that you can then use to influence the things that are happening here. And you must not be influenced by people who want to speak on behalf of their interest alone. So if you are in the committee, know that you are not in the committee to fight for only the sector that you represent.
That's right.
And we got 4 weeks to do that. And when we sat down, and the committee members and I sat down, we looked at what was the possible way to do it in the light of the experiences that are going on now. One is that there's COVID. You can't be inviting people to come and talk. So the best way to go was with a questionnaire. And the way the creative industry is right now, 70 to 80% of them are internet savvy. Nearly 70 to 80% of everybody that works in the sector either has a mobile phone, is on the internet, has used social media before, and so it was best to use that platform to push the message out to a lot of them. Even the people who do not own social media or who are intermittent social media users, it meant that they could come in, they could be invited by people who use their services. So if you go to a hairdresser or a beautician all the time, you would have gotten access to that message and ask the beautician, have you filled this form that your people are filling? Because you want the best for them. And even if one comedian sees the message, he can pass it on to so many people. If one actor or dancer sees the message, he can pass it on to other people. And that was the purpose. And we decided that we'll reach out to all sector leaders, reach out to all organizations, and reach out to all individuals. But we had some resistance in the beginning because, as usual, some people, it's not that some people were saying they should be in the committee. Some were even saying the people that you are classing together with creative sector shouldn't even be there. That architects are not supposed to be there. Craft and designs are not supposed to be there. People were saying IT people who create, so somebody who creates an e-game, that's entertainment. So because the entertainment is online, shouldn't be part of the creative sector.
Wow.
When you say marketing and strategy, these are people who are like research and development, R&D.
Yes.
They are all part of the creative sector. You have coaches, motivational speakers, and all of these people who are mind menders, as they are called. They're mind menders, and they are all part of the creative sector. In fact, there was one person from the three major creative art sector that said, why should sculptors be part of the creative sector? You know, so it is clear that some people did not understand what the whole ecosystem of creative economy was, and so we needed to tell a lot of them about that. Even streaming services. Some people did not think streaming services were part of the creative sector, but you see, it is it's expected, and so we modeled through that, and by the time we were done, some of them, because we expected that as soon as that message landed and was circulating, the sector leaders should have taken it upon themselves, spread the word amongst their members, and say, you guys, fill your forms, fill the questionnaires, and get everybody involved. But they didn't, and so they were fighting for representation in the committees instead of fighting to get their people to respond. They were fighting for representation in the committee. And immediately, I spoke with the minister and said, this is what we are going through. The minister said, that is exactly why I did not want the people who will come into the committee to think they were coming there to fight for themselves. So you don't want somebody who's coming from Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria to say, I'm only here to represent the interests of Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. Because if that were that, then it meant that every other sector would have to send representatives anyway. So dancers, choreographers, makeup artists, poets, and sculptors, and ironwork workers, and all of those people would then have to send representatives. How many people will be in the committee? But I think that we've gone past that, and we're about submitting our reports anyway.
So you have representations, or you have collated all submissions from every sector that you have mentioned right now.
What we have done is that it was open, and we pushed the message out. People saw it. People went there to. I saw that.
I saw it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me use the movie industry. So anyone who shoots a movie knows that he will spend between, depending on the quality of movie that you're making, you spend between 30 to 100 million. If you're making an epic, you probably will spend about 920, depending on the cast that you have, depending on who you bought your script from, because the script is very good, and if your director is expensive, and if the location you're using requires a lot of things, depending on the treatment of the script, you probably could go overboard by 80 to 90 million. All right. That kind of person that is shooting that movie is different from somebody who is just a player in the industry. Somebody whose services are requested to be in a movie will be different from somebody who is producing movies as well. I'll use an AY. AY is a comedian, and he's shooting a movie, or AY is organizing a concert. The cost or the pain or the effect of the pandemic on AY will be different from somebody who is just a comedian. So there'll be two different effects on that. So the person who is just a comedian has not earned money as a comedian, but AY is a comedian and he's organizing a concert, so he would have expended more money. So you cannot just say all of them should be represented by one sector. So a sector leader cannot speak to individuals or speak on behalf of individuals. The sector leader will speak generally for everyone. So the sector leader will say, my people's job has been truncated, the people are not doing this, the people are not doing this. The sector leader cannot go and say, oh, this individual didn't do this individual didn't do that. They will speak generally. So we still expected that from sector leaders, but we also still expected individuals to then say how it pinches them. So let's say a musician, Banky W can say, this is how it has affected me. I have a record label, and all my recording artists cannot release their songs or work in the studio because of this pandemic. But the recording artist would now say, I can't earn money for myself because I'm not doing this. An organization like Raypower or AIT or Silverbird will be affected differently from a newscaster in Silverbird. The newscaster in Silverbird might be, he can't go to the office, he can't get news, or he can't, the news is scanty, or the process of interviewing people or getting people into the studio to interview them has been affected. But how he is affected is different from how Silverbird itself will be affected. Silverbird will be affected because Silverbird still has to pay salaries for people who come to work. Silverbird has to be on air. They still have to be on air to still maintain their viewership and numbers of viewers that they have, because they are essential services. So diesel will still be bought. The transportation to and fro work will still be going on. Light bills will still be paid. Security of the place will still continue. Unlike the person who is not going to work because of the pandemic. You're different from you're in the same broadcasting sector. So it was important to hear from everybody and how it affected everyone. So that was the purpose. And I think that for so many people, until you hear how it has affected some, you will not understand. Now for movies, there are people who do 1 or 2 movies every year.
Yeah.
And that 1 or 2 movies, those 2 engagements can take them through the year. Because you finish shooting the movie and you earn, let's say, 1 million.
Are you talking in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, yes. I'm talking of Nigeria.
Okay.
Now. So you shoot a movie and it's 1 million naira that you are paid for the acting. And then you shoot another one maybe towards the middle of the year. And then those 2, then the ones you've shot before may come on and they're in the cinemas. Don't forget that when a movie is in the cinema, the actor is not earning daily. It's the movie that is on. The actor is not earning daily. The actor earns when he shots the movie.
Shots the movie, yes.
You know? But what happens with people is that because they continue seeing the actor on the screen, they think every time it's on the screen, the actor is earning a lot of money. No, the actor is a one-off payment. He's gotten a one-off payment. And so he's looking for the next event, the next script to act in.
That was what I was asking. Do you mean 2 movies in a year and it's enough for the actor?
But that is it. So that is why a lot of the people in the sector get involved in other things. So they do other businesses, they do other investment that takes them from one set to another. So sometimes you see, which is why you hear stories like there are some actors and actresses who have not been on screen for so long. No, they've not done a movie in 2017. They didn't do it in 2018. Then 2019 is about going, and then they hear somebody has a movie. They say, "Man, I want to be part of that movie." And the person says, but we already have. He said, "Find a role for me." And some of them even pay to appear in movies because you need to put top of mind presence. You have to do that. And so they need that visibility so that it's not like, oh, I've not seen her face in a movie lately. Don't forget that the reason some people use some actors and actresses in a movie because the audience like them. So the audience don't get bored with seeing their faces. So when you're shooting a movie, you also want to find a factor that will pull people to the cinema. So that factor that pulls people to the cinema could be a cast. It could be the kind of cars you use. It could be the locations you use. It could be the storyline. It could be the director. It could be the synergy, whatever you use. So it could be the style. Is it comedy? Is it action?
Or the delivery of the person.
Or the delivery of it. So the treatment of the script is also part of the thing. And then your target audience. Is the language PG? Is the language Yoruba? Is that is the story universal? Is the story applicable to all sectors? Is it talking about Nigerians? Can you sell it outside Nigeria? Is it going to be subtitled? Just like that. So there's a lot of dynamics that are necessary for the movie to come out looking hot and awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what then happens now is you then have these people who are in the sector, and this thing has disrupted their calendar. Don't forget, I'm just talking of movies, so that people don't think that it's movies alone. Now, every October, November, December, you get a diary. So you get a diary like this. You get a diary like this.
Okay.
Right? This diary is a day, a page. So one page like this. This is one page for the whole 2 pages. One day for the whole 2 pages. This is the diaries that a lot of people who do a lot of writing use. Right? So then you have some that on a page you can have 3 days. Then some you have 2 days on a page, or you have the whole week across the page like this. Things like this don't get prepared. Things like this don't get prepared in 4 months. So the preparation of diaries like this begin to take form from May.
Yes.
Some people start from March, because there's back and forth. The printer goes to the first is the graphic designer they'll go to the and say, okay, no, correct this. They come up, what is the information here? Oh, change. Oh, we shut down that branch. We don't want that branch listed again. The phone numbers to this branch has changed. Remove that. Oh, the GM of that branch is not here, or the GM of this company has left. We have a new ED. All of those information have to be tweaked. And in preparing all of that, before you then go for final approval sometime in August. And so when the final approval is given to you in August, the people go to print and bring the first copy for the organization to see. They look at it and decide, it's okay. We've made this correction and made that correction. I think the fonts should be bigger. And they say if the fonts are bigger, we probably might have to add 10 more pages. If we add 10 more pages, the price will change. All of that then happens. Finally, they go to press. And print that before you then begin to distribute them November, December. You see? So what is it? It is that people always expect that only their sectors are covered. So there are many people who are covered in this industry that also needed to be represented. Tourism is another area. Tourism is affected. People who plan tours take people to different parts of this state, Olumo Rock, the mountainous area in Idori Hills, and all those places. All of that is shut down. Sporting, DJs, for instance, earn money from nightclubs. Nightclubs are not working, so the DJs who earn those monies are broke. Because they earn money weekly. So they're not playing. And then, but apart from, and it is when they go to play at clubs that the boy and the girl that came to dance feels how the DJ is playing and say, when we're getting married, that DJ will play. And so the nightclubs is also a marketing platform for the DJ. And that has been affected as well. So they're not getting the necessary promotion. They're not getting money. And all of that is don't forget that there are spas. Nobody's going to spas anymore. It's just, it's all encompassing, and the damage is real.
So that's one of the prevailing conditions that is inherent right now. And one of the, if you looked at what it is that we really thought this discourse would be about, would be where do people get their fun from right now? How do the DJs express themselves? How do the creatives, the writers, the screenwriters, how do they express themselves now?
Okay, right now, if you're a script writer, you should still be writing, but it's just that you will not have uptakers. Because what happens with script writing is that you write a script and look for somebody to buy it. When the person says, I like the story, then you present the screenplay for the person to look at.
Yes.
But that is not selling now. Somebody's official ONG is shouting stand-up comedians, stand-up comedians. Okay, stand-up comedians are affected too. But okay, so the truth is every sector right now feeds off the other. So script writers need movie makers to pick up their scripts.
Yes.
The actors need the scripts to be bought for them to be invited to be part of that movie. The executive producer needs to have a good script to fund a movie. The cinema will need a movie that is well done. An editor has to work on a movie that has been shot to edit it and put it properly. So every sector now is affected generally.
Yes.
Every sector is affected. So everywhere, except for graphic artists. Graphic artists,
they're still working.
That can still be working. But then again, if the work that graphic artists do have to do with show promotion, design something for me for my show, design this competition for me. Don't forget that award ceremonies are also part of the creative sector. Conference tourism is also part of the creative sector. All of this should just be all of this should point to the fact that everybody is jobless right now, because even if you can do what you need to do, you are depending on the particular sector to survive. Two weeks ago, someone called me and said he's been on AY show for the past 7 years. And every time he's done with AY show, he takes the money he earns from AY show and pays his rent.
Wow.
So this year, he's thinking of where he will get the money from to pay his rent.
So it's time to be creative.
But then again, if you are a stage manager and there's pandemic, how do you get creative with stage management? How do you, if you are somebody who builds the stage, what do you then build in this lockdown?
There's no way
that would earn you money. If you are an usher, because the ushers, there's some 2 girls who responded, and they said they didn't know where they belonged in
the scheme of things.
All of this creative sector, in the scheme of things. And I said, you guys are part of the consultancy sector. You provide services that help to drive, like event planners. You are also part of that sector. So you're consultants. Bouncers are consultants. They provide services that then help all of us achieve the greatness that we have. So the usher said that in the past 6 years, she took herself through school from being an usher. An usher that gets 15,000, that gets 20,000, that gets 30,000, depending on the kind of events. That is what they make money from. And they make that money, some of them, every Saturday, they leave school. Those ones that are in the university, they leave school.
And run to Lagos, to
come and be ushers. They make that money. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 10. They make that money and run back to school. And it takes them through that whole week. And sometimes they have to even dash into town on a Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what kind of events that they have, finish with that and go back. So now it is about how do you apply your creativity. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, we can't organize concerts again. What is it that we can do that would help us begin to organize concerts and get people to take part in the concert as if they were there? Let me show you something. This is, you've heard of this, right?
Yes.
You see, this means that you can watch a concert as if it is live.
Yeah.
But it also needs a lot of IT software, tinkering with the process and all of that to get this to work. Right now, there's a concert that is going on. There's a concert that is going on that I'm watching, and it's Wyclef John. It looks like I'm inside the concert itself. Right? Oh shit, badass.
It's like
all right, so
that's 4D, isn't it?
Yes, but this is the kind of thing that then helps everyone to adapt. Yeah. So it is, where do we go from here? How do you apply yourself to any of these? How do you take your technology, or do you take your creativity onto this VR? How do you take your technology onto the VR so that if you have a talk show, yeah, can I wear this and watch it like I'm watching the live show on television?
On television.
Can I wear this and it's like I'm right there? So all of these are just the things that need to be done for us to get to where we're going. But in truth, don't forget that one other thing that is crippling the economy right now is that the money for advertising has been cut drastically. And so radio stations and broadcast stations are affected.
Yes.
What is it? It is that the stations that normally advertise are not advertising anymore because the things that you normally advertise are not what people need. Somebody said event photographers are affected. Event photographers are affected because if the events are not there, the photographers can't take pictures.
Yes.
The videographers can't work. In 2008 actually, 2008, I worked with Fashola. There was a committee that was set up, and we did a survey and study of the creative of the events industry, entertainment industry, and we found out that the events industry between Friday and Sunday spent close to about 4 billion naira every weekend. That was in 2008. When we did the review in 2011,
yes,
that amount had gone to 10 billion. 10 billion. And so what was it that they were spending money on? They were spending money on venue. They were spending money on musicians. They were spending money on food, catering. And catering is part of the culinary art. They're spending money on beverages. They're spending money on makeup. They're spending money on Oshodi fashion, accessories. They're spending money on MCs. They're spending money on comedians. They're spending money on DJs. They're spending money on choreographed dancers. They're spending money on ushers and content creators for these events, lights, multimedia. All of those were part of the 4
line items for an event.
Now, between 2011 and now, we've not done another research, but the projection is that we probably have hit about 15 to 16 billion weekly. Every weekend, 16 billion every weekend. So it's a lot of money. Cake makers are there as well.
Yes.
So across Lagos, if that is the volume that is being pushed, then you know how affected this industry
is. So my question would be, how can we drive engagement? Because we're all confined within our homes. Because of social distancing, we cannot commute, we cannot socialize. How can we engage? How can we drive as much engagement as possible from behind the TV? We've got Netflix on board. We've got, even right now, I noticed that YouTube has started to engage. You can interact on YouTube. How do you think that we can introduce these features into the TVs, the screen in the homes?
The first thing is that we need to do something about our network services. Our network services are a big letdown. And because of the failure of government to monitor the sector well, so much inefficiency is sold to people for so much money. So the inefficiency is sold to people for so much money. If you're trying to download something in, I normally, when I travel, I take all my devices.
Yes.
Overseas, because I know that I can upgrade them.
You can
In fact, sometimes
yeah.
as you're sitting in the lounge, I'm talking lounge in London.
In London.
The things that would take like 45 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes to upgrade, you just click on it, and before you say jack,
minutes,
it says
yes.
it's done. So
yes.
that is real. That is the real 4G. What we have here is 1.5G, but they sell it at the price of 4G. And then the number of drops in your network is crazy. Well, now, because I want to be on with you, I'm not even using any of all these network providers. I'm using the internet on my phone as a hotspot, and that is more expensive. And that is more expensive because I do not want it to break. These are the things that should be considered first and dealt with. Somebody said it's half G. so these are the things that should be considered first before we then think of going to the next level of online entertainment. In saying that, I would say that once we get our internet, because that is the backbone of online services, online entertainment, online interaction, online communication, is the backbone is internet. Somebody said, I'm just
Is it gone? I can't see.
The second thing is the payment platform for creativity. A lot of people who are creatives don't earn the money that they should earn. They're not properly paid for what they push out. Piracy should be dealt with. If somebody takes a picture and put it, I was shooting pictures in the 90s. 96, 97, 98, 99. I have so many pictures, but don't forget that at the time we were taking those pictures, there was no social media.
Yes.
And so those pictures were just everywhere, And when we now started uploading them on Facebook, on Facebook, some people have gotten those pictures and put it on. And people are now writing all sorts on top of the picture as if they own the picture. But you see, you cannot, there's need for copyright to be attended to. I was listening to a comedian in America one time, and you could select a mode where there's commentaries on the video you're watching, and in the commentaries the guy said, hey man, you heard the song that I sang there? It cost me, man. It cost me, because as a comedian he was performing and he did a song on stage. He was made to pay for that song before he sold the content. Before he sold, Before he sold his stand-up performance, he was made to pay for that content before he could even say it, before he could even sell it. So,
but it's probably going to go off any moment now. I think that's why there's a bit of a glitch. But once it goes off, we'll come back on.